Kelly with Soulful Creations, and today I'm going to do a tutorial on the Joseph bag by Shamballa. The Joseph bag is the first pattern in the Shamballa men's line. How cool is that Shamballa has created a men's line? So what's going on with this Joseph bag? It looks like a messenger bag, right? But there's so much more to it than that. There is this nice flap on the front with this cool detail, this contrast detail on the front. Under the flap, you have a slip pocket here. Inside the slip pocket is an organizer pocket where you can put a cell phone, a couple of pens. It has this key ring attached where you can put your keys. Inside, there's a welt slip pocket. And then you have this combo of a slip pocket and a zipper pocket, okay? And if that is not enough pockets for you, on the back, there's another slip pocket. So this bag is so good for that techie guy who's going to need to take his tablet, his phone, his keys, his notebook, all of that with him, right? Now, that's not all you get with this pattern. You also get this cool strap pattern. Look at the details on this strap. Love these strap connectors. And you have an option to make your own strap out of 2 contrasting vinyls, like I did on the Plaid bag, or you can use webbing and vinyl as I've done on this denim look vinyl bag, right? So love that you have these different options. This is a great bag. Just like I always do, the pattern link is in the description. Get the pattern, make this bag. Father's Day is coming soon. You know you got gifts that you need to make. So get it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on my next tutorial. And let's get ready to make the Joseph bag by Shamballa. Okay, so let's get into making our Joseph bag by Shamballa. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the key connector that attaches to the organizer pocket. So I went ahead and I grabbed the pieces I need. I need the organizer pocket lining, the organizer pocket exterior. We're going to need the front panel bottom, the organizer pocket contrast band, and then our key connector with our 3/4 inch swivel hook. Okay, so we should have all of that. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the key connector. I've already drawn a line down the center, and I'm going to place some double-sided tape. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch so I don't have to put 2 pieces. So, and I'm going to do about halfway. Place it halfway. Well, I'm sorry, that's later. Let's put the whole amount. Because first we have to fold in these raw edges. So now we're going to fold in the raw edges to the center. Okay, just like that. And now we're going to do about halfway there. We'll put another piece there. So we're holding it together. Okay. Then we're going to slip our hook on. And then we're going to remove the paper backing from the double-sided tape. And we're going to bring those raw edges together. And that double-sided tape will hold it together. Okay. And it should look just like this. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch. We're going to top stitch all around, okay? And just to make sure that my top stitching is straight, I just like to draw a little line where I'm going to stop, go across here. Okay, and now we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me turn that down. Just sometimes I can never turn it completely down because my kids are at school and I always just want to make sure that I know if something happens. Okay. Alrighty. So there we have our key ring made. Take that chalk off. Okay, so now we have our key ring made. Now we can grab our organizer pocket exterior. Okay. And using the pattern piece, because it has the markings, I'm going to go ahead and just place my key ring. So it has the little markings for the placement there. So I'm just using that to place my key ring connector. And then once I get the placement, I can clip it in place, and then we're just going to baste that on. And I'm using waterproof canvas for my lining. So I don't need any interfacing, but if you're using cotton, this piece should be interfaced with a woven interfacing. Okay. Okay, so now our key ring is connected. Now next we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our contrast band. So let me just, okay, yeah. So we're going to grab our contrast band. Okay, so here's our organizer pocket exterior. We're going to place that the contrast band right on the top, right sides together, just like that. And we're going to clip that together. And we're going to sew at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. All right, now we're going to fold that back. Going to fold that back, and I'm just sorry, let me move this out the way, sorry. Okay, we're going to fold this back, the top band back, and we're going to top stitch right across the top band, right about at the bottom where the seams are. Okay, so we're pushing the seam allowance toward the top band, and that's where we're going to top stitch. Okay, so now it should look like this. It's looking good, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our, our organizer pocket lining. Okay, so let me grab that, the organizer pocket lining piece. Okay, and now we're going to put that right on top of the contrast band, right sides together. I'm going to clip that in place, and we're going to sew that at 1/4 inch. Good. So don't be confused. The organizer pocket, the organizer exterior is also cut from your lining, just like the lining, the organizer lining. So, okay. Oh, let me change my stitch length back. Okay, so going at 1/4 inch. So now once we have that sewn, we're going to fold that seam allowance. Oops, I dropped something. Okay. We're going to fold the seam allowance up toward the lining. Okay. And we're going to top stitch onto the lining this time. Okay. Let me just double check that I'm saying that correctly. Hold on. Yes. Okay. Just had to make sure. Okay. So we're just, this time we're top stitching onto the lining. My scissors somewhere. Set them over here. Okay. So now we have it looking like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold these raw edges down to meet. So they should match up down here at the bottom. We're just going to clip that in place. Just holding this in place here. It's looking good. And we're going to bring this, increase this up here at the top, just like that. So it's like essentially we're folding that band in almost in half. Okay. And now we're going to top stitch around across the edge of the contrast band. Okay, at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, looks good. Alrighty, so now that's what it's looking like. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our front panel bottom. Okay, make sure you have the straight edge up. We're going to line up the bottom of our organizer pocket with the bottom of the front pocket bottom. And it's a little curvy, a little bit of a curve on the ends at the bottom. So it's a little bit different than the top, so don't confuse them. Okay. So just like that. Okay. And then using the pattern piece again, I'm going to mark those lines for the organizer pocket, so that pin pocket here. So I'm just lining up here, the sides, and I'm just marking where I'm going to put my pin pocket. Okay. So once I have these lines here, then I can take my ruler. Okay. So actually, I can do that before I clip this, actually. So the clips aren't in the way. Okay. And now I'm just going to line this up here. In here. Just like that. Okay. Now we can clip it. So I have the lines for my pin pocket there. Now we can clip it back. Okay. And I'll clip the sides as well. Make sure it lays smooth and flat. Both sides. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to baste it on, and then we're going to sew these lines here as well. Okay. So let me just do that. So that's what we're going to do. So first I'm going to baste around the perimeter and get the organizer pocket attached. Okay. Now, once I have that attached, now I can go ahead and sew the pin pocket. So what I like to do is I'm going to start at the bottom and I'm going to stitch up. Okay, I'm not going to stitch it to the contrast band. I'm going to stop right at the contrast band. Then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to stitch right back down. And then I'm going to come across and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. And that gives me a nice firm little stitch there. So I'm going to back stitch a little and I'm going to stitch up. Make sure the key ring is not in the way. And I'm going to stop my stitching right up underneath that contrast band. And I'm going to come back down and I'm going to go right back over the same stitches. Now I'm going to come across my basting stitch and then stop there. And then I'm going to come up. Stop right under the contrast band and then turn it around and then come back down or across the same stitches. Okay. And I just turn here and back stitch, close it off. Okay. So now I have, my pocket is looking good. It's looking like this here. I have room for my pen. pin so I can put the pin there. Fits in there good. Okay. So now we're ready to put the sides on. So we're going to grab our the sides. Okay, so let me get those side pieces. Okay, so now we're going to take our front panel sides and we are going to attach them to our organizer pocket, one on each side. So they should be cut mirrored like this. And we're going to take one and match up the long straight edges on the side. And we're going to sew that on also at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. Okay. Okay, now the other side. Okay. Now we're going to fold that open, pressing the seam allowance towards the side panels, and we're going to top stitch through the side panels. Okay, so now our organizer pocket is done. If you have any little pieces poking out at the bottom here, you could just snip those off. Okay. Okay, so now we have our organizer pocket. We can put a phone here, our pens, and then we have our key ring. So that's all done. So now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get the other pieces that we're getting ready to do next, and I will be back. Okay, so now we're going to take our front top panel, and we're going to place that right sides down on top of our organizer pocket. So the top should be where we have this 1 inch line at the top. So that's going to be for our drop in. So we want to make sure we're putting the right part and lining it up with the organizer pocket. So we're just going to go ahead and get that in place. So let me clip that on, and we're going to sew this on at 3/4 inch. I'm sorry, at 1/4 inch. I was like, huh? It didn't sound right in my head, but okay. All right. So I'm just clipping this on. Okay. Okay. So 1/4 inch, not 3/4. Once you get that sewn on, we're going to push the top up, and we're going to push the seam allowance down toward the organizer pocket. And we're going to top stitch through the bottom, through the organizer pocket, okay? So now this becomes your front panel, okay? So we have that. We have the front panel created. So now what we're going to do is make our front slip pocket. So we're going to grab our front slip pocket pieces. So I'm going to grab my slip pocket and my lining here. Okay, so I have that. And then also I have my piece of Decaville Light, my stabilizer for my front panel. So I'm going to take this to my heat press and I'm going to press this on right under that 1 inch line. Okay, and I'm going to center it and get it pressed on. And you see the bottom comes down here. If you want, you can kind of trim that out of your seam allowance if you feel you need to. But I think it's fine for me because I have an industrial. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to get that pressed on. And then we're going to come back and we're going to add our magnetic snaps, the female portion of our magnetic snaps, the female part, right? Yes, the female portion of our magnetic snaps here. And then we're going to make the slip pocket, this front slip pocket, and then we'll get it attached to our front panel. So like I said, I'll be back after I get this this stabilizer put on, and then we'll come back to make our slip pocket. Okay, so I used my Cricut Easy Press 300 for 15-20 seconds, and I got my Decaville Light on to the back of my front panel. So I can set that aside. And now I'm going to grab my front slip pocket pieces. Okay, I have my lining, which is in waterproof canvas. And then I have this vinyl, this denim look vinyl from Love Creation. And I have already marked out where I'm going to put my magnetic snaps. So I just need to grab those. So we're putting on the female portion of our magnetic snaps. So I'm just going to grab that and 2 washers. Okay, so I have the female portion of my snaps. I have 2 washers, and then I'm also going to cut a couple of pieces of Peltex for extra reinforcement. Okay, always keep that handy. Okay, and so I'm going to mark, I'm just going to center this over my mark, the washer, and I'll mark where I'm going to cut my little slits there. And on this side here. Okay. And then I'll do the same on this, on the stabilizer. Okay. And now I am going to my little blade here, my mat, and I'm just going to cut those. Okay. Get my snaps on. Put the stabilizer in the washer, and I'm going to press those prongs out. And get in there. Okay. Then we'll put some tape over that. I still haven't got my, I really need to just go buy some more duct tape. I don't think my boys are going to ever give it back. I never think to ask them. Okay, so now that we have that, let me put these snaps over here. Okay, and so now that we have our snaps on our exterior of our slip pocket, now we're going to sew into the lining portion. So we're going to put right sides together, and we're going to sew this top edge at 1/4 inch. Just get that all lined up. Okay, and now we're going to press that open, and we're going to fold that back, and we're going to top stitch. Okay, so I just like to open this up a little, just get that, seam open there. Like that. Okay. All right. And now we're just going to top stitch. All right. That looks good to me. Alrighty. So now we're ready to go ahead and get this all right here. Okay. Right over our organizer pocket. And we're going to get that clipped on and we're going to baste that on. Sure I'm keeping it nice and even. And if it's anything kind of sticking out once I get this on, then I'll just trim it down a little. Okay. Get this side back. I'm already loving the look of this. Alrighty. So now we're just going to top stitch that on, or baste that on rather. All right, that looks great. It looks great, great, great. So you have, see that? See your organizer pocket in there, so your keys are all tucked away, protect there. So I'm gonna just trim down some of this little extra stuff, you know, from my less than perfect cutting. Just get it all trimmed down nice and neat. Okay. Same over here. You don't have to do this, but it helps to keep with your accurate seam allowances. So I like to just trim it down if I can. Okay, there we go. Not too bad. Alrighty. So that's what that's looking like. Okay, so now I'm gonna gather what we getting ready to do next, get those pieces set, and then we'll be right back. Go look at your pocket, it looks good, yeah. Okay, so now I'm back. I have gathered my 2 flat pieces. So I'm using the denim for the exterior, and I'm using this brown suede-ish looking. This is from Kaya. I mean, this is from Indo Location. It's called Kaya. So I'm using this for the back of my flap, so the inside of my flap. And I have this as the contrast as well. So this is going to be my contrast band on my flap. Okay. And I also have the other halves of my magnetic snaps, and I have my label. Okay. And I've made all my placement marks. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put my my magnetic snap pieces onto my lining part of my flap. So I'm going to go ahead. I didn't mark where I'm going to cut the slits though. I didn't do that part. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I didn't do it on the flap piece. So go ahead and get those marked. Just using a pencil because we're not going to see it. Okay. Okay. And go ahead and And on my stabilizer pieces as well. Now get those in. Okay. And get my tape. Oops. Okay. So I have that now. Now on the exterior portion, I have marked out where I'm going to put my label. Okay, so all of these markings you can find on the pattern pieces. Okay, and I have this little piece of the Kaya, and I'm going to go ahead. I have some double-sided tape on the back. I'm going to lay this down right where I want to put my label, and I'm going to stitch this on first. And then I'm going to put my label right on top of that. It's a nice little, makes the label kind of stand out a little more and not get lost. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to top stitch that on. I'm not going to leave any, I'm not going to back stitch, just going to get it on here. Pull my thread to the back. And get it right where I started there. Okay. And I will tie the threads off from the back. Okay. Come on, threads. Work with me. They don't want to work with me today. Okay, so get that all knotted. I'll burn the ends. Make sure they don't come loose later. Okay, so now I will go ahead. I'll use the washer for my label. And I'm going to just get that right centered. I'm just going to eyeball it. That looks about right. Okay, looks pretty good to me. And I'm going to mark that. Okay. And get that cut. Get my label on. And we're good. It just says handmade. I didn't have any of my own labels in antique brass. Never ordered any because I thought I wouldn't use it a lot. And it seems like I do use it a lot. So I need to order some. Okay. So I'm gonna fold those out and tape it down. Nope, I'm not gonna worry about putting an extra stabilizer because I'm going to add stabilizer to my flap. So it should be fine. Okay. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. All right, so I have my label, got my label on. So now I'm going to take this contrast band here, and we have a line that we have drawn across the back. That's also on the pattern piece. I placed a piece of double-sided tape. So we're gonna remove the paper backing off the double-sided tape. And then right here in this curved area, right in this curved area, I'm going to put some little snips there. Not too big. It's maybe like 1/8 of an inch. Okay. So that we can ease that in. Okay, and I'm going to start here. I'm going to fold this raw edge down. Now this is if you don't want that raw edge. If you don't mind a raw edge, if you're using a material where you don't mind a raw edge, then you would have cut this without this little extra bit on there, okay? So there's a different, you would use the other cutting line where you wouldn't have to fold this edge down, okay? And I would say I did the same thing for my flaps. I used the wider cutting line because I'm going to sew my flap pieces together, right sides together. But there's another line that you can cut if you don't mind raw edges, and if you're planning on maybe edge painting, or if you're just going to leave it raw, then you would cut that line. So that way you wouldn't have to you wouldn't have to sew it right sides together like I'm going to do. Okay, you would sew it right, you would sew it wrong sides together. If you decided you're going to leave raw edges, then you would use that other cutting line, and then you would sew it wrong sides together. Okay, so I probably confused you enough with that. Let's move on. Okay, so now I'm just going to place a piece of double-sided tape here. Just a little here, right in here, just so that it stays where I put it and doesn't misbehave. Okay. All right. So just like that. And then we'll get that off. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to match up the curves on this exterior piece. So let's move that one out of the way. And I'm just going to match up the sides and these curves here, just like that. Okay, and then just press it down, and it's looking like that. I like this brown with this denim look. I think that's pretty masculine. Okay, and now we're just going to top stitch. So I'm going to top stitch right along here. Okay, so just right along there. And I think I'll go this way. Looks good. All right, so if you're okay with leaving this extra layer here, then you could have also just basted around the edge here, but I'm going to just remove some of this extra bulk here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just trim that. Okay, so I have some my double-sided tape. I'm kind of using that as a guide here. Okay, and I'm just going to trim that right off. Okay, so now it looks like this on the back. Okay, so now we can go ahead, and if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, we're going to put right sides together. If you're doing it the other way, you're going to put wrong sides together. And you're going to sew it at 1/4 inch. Either way, you're going to sew at 1/4 inch. So we're just going to sew. We're not going to sew across this top. We don't want to close it up. We're going to just sew these other 3 edges all the way around. Okay, so just match everything up and get it sewn up. We're going to turn it out and see what it's looking like. Okay, so I'm ready to sew. So I'm going to get started. At 1/4 inch. Take your time around the curves. If you need to, you can even draw your seam allowance on, if that's more helpful. Okay. I always decrease my stitch length just a little bit when I go around the curve. So I'm doing a 4 on the straight edges, and then when I get to this curve, I go down to like a 3.5. And I find that gives me like a cleaner curve. Almost. Yeah. Alrighty. So you got that. All. Okay. And so I'm just going to take my scissors here and I'm just going to snip around these curves. Okay. You can use pinking shears too. And then I'll just go back and I'm just taking some little snips out. Okay. All right. So it looks like this, and do the same thing over here. Do not cut into your stitches, please. Okay. Okay. All right, now I can turn it out. So be very careful. Just kind of push those curves in carefully. Push the curves in. grabbing it with my hand, and I'm just going to pull it up through the opening here and push it out. And hope everything looks good. We just got to smooth out these seams. So I will take my little chopstick here and I will just start working these seams gently, pushing them out, get them all smooth. Just massage them. Same over here. Run it across the bottom. Okay, so this part you have to really like take your time on and get it nice. It's not going to just instantly look smooth and nice. You have to take your time and really, you know, work that vinyl or whatever material you're using. Just smooth it, because it doesn't automatically look like that when you turn it. So just take your time. And then I'm going to clip it. I'm going to clip it and get it where the way I want it to look. And then I'm going to add my stabilizer, and then I will top stitch. Okay, so I just massage those seams. Okay, so I will be back after I get it nice and smooth the way I want it, and then I will show you the stabilizer. I'll show you what it looks like after I've added the stabilizer and I've top stitched. Okay, so I will be back. So you see, I'm just adding clips. I'll be back. So there we go. Now I'm back. I have top stitched my flap. I inserted my Decaville Heavy stabilizer inside, and I've top stitched my flap. I'm very happy with how it looks. So that's the back, and this is the front. Okay, and now I'm going to get the dog for barking. I'm going to mark my centers here. So mark the midpoint on this part of my flap. Okay. And now I have my back panel bottom and my back panel top, which also has that 1-inch line at the top, like we did for the front, for our drop in. Okay, and I'm going to also mark the centers at the bottom of this. And I will mark the center on the bottom, on the top of this one. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, let me just make sure I get this right. So this is going to, let me just make sure I'm getting this situated right. Very good. Okay, so we're going to place our back panel top this way. So this is the part with the 1-inch line, and this will be the bottom part. And we're going to line that up with the center, with the midpoint on our flap. So both are right sides up. Then we're going to take our back panel bottom and we're going to place that on top, just like that. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. Now, if you want, you can base this on first, which is what I think I'm going to do. So I'm going to base this on first. I'm going to base the top on first. Just so everything will be okay. Okay, so I'm going to just base this on 1/8 of an inch. So it should look like this. Now I'm going to put the bottom on here, and I'll line that up. And we're going to sew this on at 1/4 inch. Like that. It's about time to change my bobbin out. Good there. And now what we're going to do is this is the part that gets a little funny. We're going to bring the flap back like that. Okay? So it should look like this. And that is, because remember, this is the back. This is the back, and that's going to fold over to the front. So that's what it's supposed to look like. So, so you have it like this. Just bring this part down. This top part stays up, and then we're going to top stitch right through here. Let's see if I got enough. I'm going to wrist this bobbin here and see if I got enough to get across. So far, so good. I love living dangerously. All right, made it. Okay. All right, that's what it's looking like. There we go. So now I'm going to get ready to grab the next parts, and then we'll come back and we'll see what's up next. Okay, so I'm back. I went ahead and I added my stabilizer, my Decaville light, onto the back of my back panel. And so we don't need this for a second. And I grabbed my back slip pocket pieces. So you'll have one that looks like this, and then the other part that looks like this. And we're going to sew these together at 1/4 inch. And then we also have the lining piece to go with that. So first we're going to put these together. Okay. And this exterior is getting close to being finished. There's a lot of pieces to this bag, but if you take your time and follow everything, it goes together so smoothly. You just gotta, it's like putting a puzzle together. It all comes together. Okay, so I'm sewing this. Alrighty. And then we're going to, I think we're top stitching on, yes, we're top stitching onto the side part, to this, to the smaller piece over here. Okay. So this. This. Okay, I'm really starting to play Russian roulette with this bobbin now. This better be the last time I top stitch something. with this bobbin. Okay. Alrighty, so now we have that all top stitched. That looks great. Now we're going to take our lining piece and we're going to put that on top, right sides together, and we are going to sew that at 1/4 inch. Okay. And now we can top stitch up, but this I better not do that. I better not risk it. Oh goodness, I better not try it. Okay, so we're gonna fold that back, wrong sides together, and we're gonna top stitch. But first, I'm going to change my bobbin because I think I have used up all my chances here. Okay. Everything lined up nice. Okay, so let's get a fresh bobbin in. I could have went for it a little, but better safe than sorry. All right, so let's go ahead and get that top stitched and get it onto that back there. I'm loving this brown and this denim look together. Okay, so now this slip pocket goes on the back here. Okay, so we're going to get this all matched up. And we're going to get this basted on. Gotta see which one of my boys, they were digging this bag. I was like so surprised. Like, I didn't know they were bag people. But they were loving this bag, this Joseph bag. They all wanted the plaid one. So I said, look, I'm gonna make 2 more and we'll see. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to base that on at 1/8. loose clip. Okay. All right, so that looks nice, roomy slip pocket. All right, just like I did before, I'm just gonna just trim this up neatly because I will be adding some piping. And so I want nice, even edges. If you don't want to do the piping, you don't have to, but I just love the way it looks. So I am going to do the piping. Okay, so get it all trimmed up. Nice, 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 nice. Oh, that looks so good. That looks good. Okay, so I'm gonna find my midpoint here at the bottom. Okay. If you haven't done so, go ahead and do that because you will need that. Okay, and do that. I'm gonna grab my front panel and I'll do the same because I didn't do it already. And I'm just gonna get me a little snip in there. Okay. So I have those. I have my marks here that I've done earlier for where I'm going to start and stop my piping. I can see here. Oh, there it is there. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So that's where I'm going to start and stop my piping. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my gusset pieces and my bottom piece, and then we're going to get those put together. And before we get those attached to these pieces, then we'll have to do the piping. Okay, so I'll be back after I get my gusset pieces together. I have my gusset pieces here. So let me show you what I have. I have these 2 gusset pieces and I have some marks on here. So these marks are where we're going to be placing our strap connector and our contrast bands for our gusset. On the back, I have Deckerbill Light, and we have that 1-inch line for our drop in. On the gusset contrast bands, pay attention to how they're oriented because the top part is a little more narrow. Okay, so on the back we have some lines, and you can get all these markings from the pattern pieces. And I placed double-sided tape at the bottom and the top because we're going to be folding these raw edges in to meet those lines. And then we have our this is our strap connector. So we're going to be cutting this in half to make 2 strap connectors. And then we have our base that we're going to attach to our gussets. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the strap connector. So I already have my center line marked, and I have a piece of double-sided tape. I'm going to remove the backing and go ahead and fold the raw edges in to meet the center line. Okay, and then we're going to top stitch down both sides. Okay, so now once we have that top stitched, we can go ahead and we can fold it in half. We fold it in half and we can just cut it right in half. Just like that. Now we're going to need our, you can use your D rings, triangle rings, rectangle rings. I find that the D rings and triangle rings are the best. I didn't have any more triangle rings, so I'm using these 1-inch D rings. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to place that on. I'm going to use a little double-sided tape just right here on the back side to hold it together. Okay, and we're going to fold that in half, just like that. So we'll have that one, and then we'll do the same thing with the other. Okay, and we'll fold that in half. All right, so once we have that, we'll take our gusset pieces, and we already have our mark for where we're going to place our strap connectors. So the straight part here, this part will go right on that line, and we're going to center it right on that line there. Okay, so I'm going to also add some double-sided tape to the back. And we're going to center that right on that line. Okay. Make sure it's centered. That's not looking pretty centered. So let me try again. Okay. Let's see. Looking a little better. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and I'll do the other. Get that right there in the center. Looks good. Here I go, nitpicky. So nitpicky. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to put a rivet. So we're going to, wait a minute. I'm putting that in the wrong place because it's not lining up within my marks. I think that the bottom of the strap connector, yes. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I had that all wrong. The bottom of the strap connector is lined up with that. So sorry. See, you think you know something? Okay. Gotta go back and check. Yeah, I had forgotten. Okay, so the bottom of the strap connector lines up with that mark we made. And now we're just going to baste that on right across the bottom, 1/8 of an inch. Just baste that right in place. I was like, wait a minute, it's not within my marks. What happened? Glad I didn't go off doing something that was gonna cause me some permanent damage today, you know. It would be good if I could memorize things, but my memory, I have to refresh my memory constantly when I'm making these patterns. Okay, so now we're going to put our rivet. So with the rivet, you don't want to go up too high because we're going to be adding this band here, and we want to make sure that we're not going to run into the rivet. So I'm putting it a little low, like about right at maybe 1/4 inch above my stitching. So it's not going to be, let me see what that is. Okay, so right there. So I'm just making a mark, and I will punch the holes so you can see. Just don't go too high. Okay. You can go. I could even go a little higher than that if I think I went a little higher than that on the last one. So I'm just gonna go right there. Okay, so it's no right or wrong here. Where, you know, just as long as you don't go too high and risk not being able to stitch your band on. Okay, so that's about where. So that's where I'm going to put my rivets there. Okay, and I am going to add a little reinforcements on the back, even though I have some Decaville light there, but I still like to add a little Peltex as well. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. Do that. Let me grab my rivets. I think I'm just going to use some medium size rivets. I got these from Emmaline. So I just need two. I'll get the caps here. Okay. And I'm going to put it through my Peltex, then through here, and it's just right. Okay. Get it. Yes, that looks good. That looks good. And we'll take the press here and we will set those rivets. Okay. That looks good. Okay, so now the contrast band. I'm gonna go ahead, pull the backing off the double-sided tape. I'm gonna fold the top edge down to meet the first line. Then I'm going to turn this over, do the same, and I'm going to fold this edge in to meet the bottom line. Okay, so it should look like this. It should look like this. Then I will take a piece of double-sided tape, go right in the center here, just like that. And I have my marks, so I know where to place it. And I'm going to go ahead and get it in place. And it should line up right with the edge of the gusset, and it does. Okay. Okay. Could have been a little more centered. Who's judging? Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. And we're going to top stitch the top and the bottom. Okay. This is why you don't want that rivet too close to the top. Okay. I'm just going to go down the side and then come across. Come back up this way. All right. Okay, very clever. All right, so that's what it's going to look like. All right, and then now, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the other one, and then we're going to attach the base and then get ready to do our piping. So I will be back. Okay, so I put the other contrast band on the gusset. And so I have both done. Now we just need to add the base. So we're going to take the base and we're going to put it right sides together with one of the gusset pieces. And we're going to sew this together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. 3/8. Alrighty. And then we're going to top stitch. So we're going to bring the seam allowance toward the base and we're going to top stitch through the base. Just like that. And then we'll repeat on the other side. Look at this. And then top stitch. Bring it back, top stitch through the base. Okay. Alrighty, and now we have that complete gusset, and we're going to bring these together, match it up, and mark our midpoints. Okay, alrighty. So now we can set our gusset aside, and I'm going to grab my pieces for my piping. So let me get those. Okay, so I have my piping strips and I have my piping cord. I had to I had to split my piping strips down the middle, sew them together because I did not have enough in this particular vinyl for my piping. I didn't have a long enough piece. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this seam up with a little strip of the vinyl. But this is one of those, you know, make it work moments. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to take the first piece, and I'm going to remove this backing off the double-sided tape. And this is just the way I do my piping. And I'm going to take one of my piping cords. And I'm just going to lay my piping cord right down the middle. It's just eyeballing it, not anything that has to be super duper perfect. Okay, just like that. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to my piping foot, because it's going to make my piping life so much easier. Okay, so if you don't have one for your machine, I highly recommend that you get one, because it just makes piping so much more enjoyable. Okay, so let me find the right foot. Okay, so now I'm just going to Get that on there. I meant to have this already on, but I just didn't think about it. So I hope y'all don't mind me taking a little time to switch it out. Okay. Ooh, it's always awkward using my left hand to do that. Okay. Make sure it's good and tight. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to fold these raw edges in. The double-sided tape should hold it somewhat down the center. And I'm going to just base this piping together. So my cord just runs right along the little channel and it gets the stitches right where they need to be. Okay, and I'm just folding the raw edges together as I go. Alrighty, so now I have one piping strip done. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my front panel. I'm going to start with this front panel. Okay, and I'm just going to use this seam that I have here and I'm going to place it right there in the middle. And I'm just going to start clipping my piping around. Okay. Yeah. Now when I get to these corners, these little, I'm going to just put some little snips here in my piping strip so that I can ease around these corners over here. And now I can just bend it around the curves without it puckering. Okay. And I have marks placed, like I said earlier, where I'm going to stop my piping. So I'm going right up to that point. And that's at the point where I get to that point later, I'm going to curve the piping off. So that's my mark is there and I'm going to curve it off at that point. Okay. So do this side. Curve it around. Make sure that I get no puckering. Nobody wants a puckered piping. Say that 5 times fast, Jazzy.
Puckered piping, puckered piping, puckered piping, puckered piping, puckered piping.
No, you said it too slow.
Oh, my bad. I can't say it. I can't say it no quicker. It might sound a little wrong.
Oh yeah, don't do that. don't do that then. Okay. All right. So now that I have that all together, now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to sew that on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my piping here and I'm going to remove some of this cording so that I can So when I bend it, I don't have to worry about that cording right there at the top. And I'll do the same thing over here. So I want to get that cording strip right below my mark where I need to stop. Okay, and so I'm just opening it up. And I'm just going to remove some of that cording down in there. Okay, because that part is going to be sewn off the edge, so we won't see that. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to base this on, and I'm turning it out away right at the mark. And I'll back stitch. And then I will start sewing now. And just make sure the piping foot is just going around the curves, making sure my piping stays where it should. These materials can get a little thick, but that's me, what I chose, so just working with it. And now as I'm getting closer to my other mark, I'm going to veer right off and just turn it away off the spot there and then back stitch. Okay. Right. Okay, and now it should look like this, and then I will trim off this extra. So just get that right off. Okay, and just take that right off, and that is what it's going to be looking like, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to make my other piping strip, and I'm going to do the same thing. You know, I said I was going to put a little strip here to cover this seam, and I didn't. And now I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what do you think? Does it really need it?
I told you it would look good.
Yeah, it's just a little seam there, because, hey, it's denim, and, right? I don't think that looks too bad, so I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so sometimes, you know, things happen, you forget, but it works out. Okay, so I'll be back. I'm going to apply the piping to the back panel, and then we'll get ready to put our gusset on. I'm back with the piping intact. So I have my piping on the back, have it on the front. So now I'm ready to apply my gusset. So I'm going to start with this front panel again. And I'm going to take my gusset. So this is the bottom, have the midpoints marked. I have the midpoints on my panel here, and I'm just going to match that up, right sides together. And mine, like I said, it's a little bit thick because of the materials I've chosen. So you might want to think about it. If you're on a domestic, you might not want to use so many vinyls. Okay, and then once I get the bottom clipped, I'm going to bring my gusset up to meet the top here, and I'm going to start clipping my way down. I'll do the corners. I'll do those curves last. again over here. Matching up. Right. Okay. And now right here, I'm going to move this out of the way real quick. And right here on the curves on my gusset, I'm going to add some little snips so that I can ease it onto my panel here. And then the same over here. So don't snip too deep. Okay. And now it should fit right in there. Just like that. It's magical. Okay. And the same over here. Get it all fitting. Okay. All right. And now I still have my piping foot on. Okay. And I'm going to start up here and I'm going to start at 1/4. So I'm sewing at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance here. Make sure my regular stitch is back. Okay. And I'm just gonna go. I can feel my piping and the foot. My piping foot is just running along the edge there. Okay, don't worry about that. Looking a little humpy right there. So I'm just going to keep going around. Okay. Making sure I don't sew over my piping. Okay. And as I go around these curves, I'm just going to take my time. Make sure that I keep everything lined up. Okay. Okay. Bring it back, getting to the top. So let's see what that's looking like. Make sure I don't need to re-sew over any spots. Okay, that side looks a little higher. Why? Did I not stop at the right spot over here? Or did I mark it in the wrong spot? Let me see. Yeah, this side is a little bit higher than that side. So where was my mark? Where was my mark? Did I mark? Did I not bring this one? Did I not have this one at the right mark? Okay, I'll double check that. But right now, let me just look at my piping. So I'm going to turn this around, and just to make sure that I don't see any stitches. Okay, and it looks pretty good. I think I could get a little closer around this curve, so I will do that. Alrighty, I put my piping on both the front and the back, and I think it's looking so good. Oh my gosh, that is so nice. I love this brown and this denim together. Oh, but anyway, now we're ready to do the, what is it called? Slip zipper pocket. So you should have your exterior piece and your lining piece. And this is your slip zipper pocket, like I said. And we're going to take a 1/4 inch double-sided tape, and we're going to put some right at the bottom. So on the right side. So we'll put some on the bottom. And we'll put a piece on the top. I got glue. I was gluing down my my seams to hold them open, so when we do the drop in, and I got glue all over my nails. Okay, and we're going to put some on the lining as well. Okay. So right like that. Okay. All right, so now we're going to take our zipper. So you should have your zipper tape. No zipper pull on just yet. And we're going to take paper off the double-sided tape here. And we're going to place our zipper right across the top, right sides together. Okay. Your zipper tape may be a little longer. Mine, I just barely had enough of this color left, but it's enough to fit. Okay, and we're going to take the paper off the double-sided tape on this end, on the lining, and we're going to put that right down on top of the zipper in the exterior piece, making a little zipper sandwich. Okay. Lining up those raw edges, and we're going to sew across with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, and now we're going to push the seam allowance, or push the lining back, crease it. The same thing for the exterior. Lining up the bottoms here. And we're going to top stitch. So now it should be looking like this. Now we're going to take the paper off the double-sided tape on this end. And we're going to bring this up to the top edge of the zipper, matching up the sides. Okay, and then turn it over. Take the paper off the double-sided tape on the lining and bring that up to the back of the zipper. And keeping everything lined up. Okay, and it should look like this, and we're going to sew at a 1/4 inch right across the top. And now we can go ahead, we're going to pull the zipper tape loose and we're going to turn it out just like this. And we're going to top stitch. So just tug on that zipper a little. Yeah. Okay. And do the same thing back here. We're keeping everything smooth. And top stitch. Alrighty, so now we have it looking like this. We can take our zipper pull and we're going to fold these in together and we'll put our zipper pull on. So I'm just feeding it on one side, then the other side, and then just lining it up. If my hands will cooperate. Okay. Okay. Just getting it lined up there. Sorry. There we go. Well, not quite. Not quite lined up. Yeah. Good. Just like one tooth over. Sometimes you can just pop them on, and sometimes you can't. Okay, get on. Did I get it on right? That's a little off still. I'm sorry. It has to be right, or it's gonna go on crooked. So let me try it again. Well, this thing don't want to go on. Sometimes if one end won't act right, I'll turn it around to the other side because some sides work better than others. And that's just what I find to be true. Maybe that's not true. I mean, I really cannot. There we go. Sheesh. Well, I was going to say, and then I have to take it right off and put it right back on so that the zipper is completely closed. After all that, I got to do it again. You know, this is just torture here because my hands already been hurting today. There we go. Jeepers, that was crazy. Okay. Woo! Woo, 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 woo. Okay. So now, I think we're going to measure here. Let me get the measurement. I think it's 5/8. So let me make sure. Sorry, I have to look. I have to do a little cheat here and check. Yes, 5/8. So let me grab my ruler after I pick this clip up. And I'm going to make a line here. So I'm going to do this. Make a line. So right from the seam here, I'm going to measure 5/8. 5/8. Okay. Oops, a little off there. There we go. So I have my line, and that's where I'm going to fold. Right at that mark, 5/8. So just like that. Making sure the lining and the exterior are not bunched up underneath, but nice and smooth. Okay. Okay. And then also here, I'm going to bring that down like that. And do the same thing here. So I'm going to clip the bottom. Just like this. Okay. So our slip zipper pocket will be like this. Just make sure it's not bunched up. Okay, let's keep it. So it's going to look like this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch across here, and then we're going to place this out on our, to the lining main panel, the center panel. So first let's top stitch. Okay. Forgive me for having to look at the instructions, but it is quite the lengthy pattern, so I cannot try to remember every detail. Okay. Wouldn't that be fabulous? Okay. So now we have it top stitched like that. So now I'm going to grab my lining main center piece. Okay. And it's going to go 3/4 inch from the top. So I grab my ruler again. So 3/4 inch from the top. That's where we're going to place it, right there. Okay. Make sure. I'm just going to make some marks so I don't have to worry. So I'm going to mark it on each side, 3/4 inch on each side. Okay. So I have my marks, and now that's where I'm going to line up the pocket here. Clip it in place. Like I said, make sure it stays nice and smooth at the bottom and the top. So we don't want it to bunch up. Okay. Now here, same thing. Get it clipped in place. Go. Okay, now we're just going to sew it around. So top stitch it around the 3 sides. Did I break my bobber? I sure did. Okay. Let's check. I think the my machine's tired of me. Jasmine's tired of me. Yes, you are, Jazzy.
I'm just tired. I'm tired of you.
It's been a long day. Yeah, such a long day. Alrighty. And now go across the bottom. Up the other side. Oops, I ran into my clip. Alrighty. So there we have our zipper slip pocket. Very clever. Okay, so now we're going to get those side pieces. So we should have our lining main panel sides. They should be cut mirrored like this. This is not one of them. Okay, and we're going to put the straight sides together like that. And that, and we're going to sew it on at 1/4 inch. Okay, so let me clip it on. And I'm gonna get that. 1/4 inch. And we'll do the same on the other side. Alrighty, and we're going to open up the seams and we're going to top stitch through the side panels. Or I'll say we push the seam allowance toward the side panels and we'll top stitch. That's what I'm trying to say. And same thing on this side. So that's what that's looking like. Now, let me see, we're going to get ready to do our welt pocket. Okay, and that's going to be, so we're going to take our main lining panel. So it should look like that. And then we'll just make sure that they match up. They're the same size. Okay, just double check that. And they are. So we take our main lining panel and we're going to take our welt pocket pieces. So I have the facing, and then we have our, where is it? I should have a welt pocket strip. Here it is. Okay. So we have our welt pocket strip, our facing, and our lining. Okay. And I'm just going to mark the centers here on, or the midpoint here on the lining. Okay. And we're going to place that facing at 5/8 of an inch from the top. Okay. So it's going to go centered here, there. Okay. And here we go. So we're going to have it right there. I already have the box drawn. As you can see, if you can see, I have the box drawn, and I'm going to sew that window to make, I'm going to sew in that box to make our zipper window. I mean, sorry, our welt pocket window, not a zipper. Okay. So, stitch. So once I have sewn that box, now I'm going to cut a little slit in the middle. And I'm going to cut that open. And then when I get to the end over here, I'm going to stop about 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to cut into these corners, being careful not to cut into my stitching. Okay. Get as close as you can without cutting your stitches. Okay. Just like that. Okay, so hopefully that's close enough. Now I'm just going to crease my facing where the stitches are so that I can fold it back to the back. And this is waterproof canvas. It's stiff, so it's not as cooperative as if you were using cotton. So I will have to take it over to my iron and kind of give it a little steam to get it to relax into place if it doesn't act right. If it appears to want to act right, then sometimes I can just get away with just creasing it, and then I'll put a little double-sided tape to hold it down. So we'll see how it goes. It looks like it may want to act right. It may not want to be so rebellious. Okay. So just crease that down. Okay. Alrighty. Like that. Right. So I'm going to go give it a little press and then I'll come back. Okay, so I am back. I have this pressed down as good as I can with this waterproof canvas being so thick. So I'm just going to go with that. Now I have my welt pocket strip. I put some tape on the back and I'm going to fold this together. Okay, so the edges meet, just like so. Okay, and then we're going to put some double-sided tape right on the edge, right there in the middle there. Okay. And then on the back side, we're going to place this right in the window. So the edge should be pointing down toward the bottom. And we're going to leave just a little tiny little gap. It'd be like an eighth, a little less than an eighth, maybe 1/16 of an inch of a gap there. And get that. So it should look something like that from the front, okay? And now we're going to take our welt pocket piece. We have double-sided tape at the top and bottom. I'm going to take the paper off one side, and we're going to place that right on the edge, on the end of our facing, right side down. Okay, so pointing off toward the top there. And we're going to flip this around. And we're just going to sew, we're going to top stitch just the bottom. Leave long tails if you don't want to back stitch. So I'm starting about 1/8 away from the end. Okay. And I'm just going to sew across the bottom. And now I'm going to tie those threads off. I must admit that welt pockets are not my strongest. And I think it's because I use this waterproof canvas. So it's a little thick, but hey, you gotta make it work. Gotta make it work. What's that song you guys used to sing from the High School Musical?
Oh, it was like Work It Out?
Yeah. Oh. You gotta work Work.
Yeah.
Work it out. See my kids. I didn't sing it right?
No.
Oh. Sheesh. Everybody's a critic. Okay. So this may not be in the instructions for the welt pocket, but I like to put a little double-sided tape right under those stitches. Right under the stitch line on the back. And then I'm going to pull this down, taut. Give it a good press. The double-sided tape will keep that from coming forward later. Okay, and now we have the double-sided tape on this end. We're going to pull that backing off, and we're going to bring this one up to the top of the facing. Make sure everything stays pretty lined up. And try to make this as wonky-less as possible. Is that a word? Wonky-less?
I don't think.
That's not a word.
You can make it a word.
Yeah, I can make it a word. Thank you. I'll just make it. I think I'm going to go with that wonky-less.
Put it on the shirt.
Yes. Okay. So now we're going to start where we stopped here within the stitching and come up the side, around the top, and then down the other side. Again, I'm going to leave long tails. So I get it right there. And start it. Okay, why are my kids getting loud out there? Okay. Okay, and come across. Don't sew on top of the welt strip. It should not be in your line of stitches. Okay. And coming across. And then down the side. And I'll drop it right where I start. Alrighty. Well, that wasn't too bad. Alright, now the dog wants to get in on the arc. Okay. I'm telling you, it's never a quiet moment around here.
Right. You know what time it is? It is
I know. It's like, what's wrong with these kids? Okay. So, I'm gonna get it off. And then get that tied up. And then we're gonna sew up the rest of the pocket on the sides. Okay, that ends. Okay, so now I'm gonna sew down the rest of the sides. And not that great, but it'll do. Like I said, me and the welts. Just moving that double-sided tape out the way. Okay, just sew up these sides. Okay, and now we have our welt pocket. That's not too bad. I probably give these little corners another little press there. But not too bad at all. Okay. All right. So now, real quick. Really quickly, we're going to just take our lining tops. So I'm going to grab my lining tops. And that's not my lining tops. That's not my lining tops. Okay. Take our lining tops and know which side is the top. So the top, I put a T at the top. Since that 1-inch line, it looks like it's almost dividing it in half. So I wanted to, and it is a little bit more narrow at the top. So I put a T to make sure that I don't mix up what's the top. Okay, so we're going to put the bottom part right sides together with the top of our lining pieces. And we're going to sew that on at 1/4 inch. And then we're going to top stitch through the lining. So let's get this sewn on first. All right. Okay. Okay. So 1/4 inch. And we'll do the same thing with this one. Right. And now we're ready to top stitch. So we're going to push the lining down toward the seam allowance down toward the lining. And we're going to top stitch through the lining. What did I do? What did I do? It's getting late. Okay, I think, like I said, I think my machine is tired. It's about time for me to put it to bed. It's been a long day. Or does it mean it's just time for me to go to bed? Okay. Pretty soon, we'll be finishing up and we can go night-night. Got late so quick. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, lining top on, top stitched. We'll do the same thing over here. Get top stitched. sure that seam allowance stays down. So we have our lining panels all done there. They're ready to be sewn together. Okay, so we're going to start at, we're going to get these lining panels put together. And then all that's going to be left is we're going to get ready to drop it in, and then we'll be ready to work on our strap. Okay, so I'll be back in a second. All right, so I wound some fresh bobbins, and now I'm ready to go ahead and put our lining pieces together. So we're going to sew the sides and then the bottom, and box the corners. So I'm going to start at 1/4 inch, and then go increase it to 1/2 inch so that we have a nice snug lining. So right here at the top, we'll start at 1/4 inch, gradually increasing to 1/2 inch. Okay. Then we'll do the other side. So matching up. Now that we have the side sewn up, we're going to sew the bottom. And we're going to sew the bottom at 1/2 inch. It is at 1/2 inch. Let me just double check. Yes, 1/2 inch. So I just broke my bobbin thread again. I tell you. Man, this bobbin's gonna fight. It's getting low. It's getting a bit low, that's why. But I think I got enough little juice left in her. Okay, so let's box the corners. So now we have these corners. So we're going to open it up. Let me get my hand in there. I'm going to open it up. It's a small opening. And we're going to bring the seams together here. And I'm just going to push one seam to one side and the other seam to the other side, and just kind of nest that right in there. And we're going to sew right across at 1/2 inch. So just make sure that it's all laying right And just go right across at a 1/2 inch. Push that up. Okay. So it should look like that. And then we'll do the other side. And again, I'm just going to bring those seams together. Push this one this way and this one that way. I'll put a clip there and we'll sew across. Alrighty, and I'm just going to trim that down to about a 1/4 inch. Okay, now that our lining is all done, now what we can do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab our double-sided tape. And I'm just going to put some double-sided tape right across, right on the edge. So just like this. And we're going to get ready to fold that down and get our lining and our exterior prepared for our drop-in. So just make sure you open up those seams on the side. If you're having a hard time leaving them open, then just you might want to stitch them down a little. But I'm just using the double-sided tape to hold it down. Okay, and then once I have the tape there, now I can peel off the backing and I'll start to fold it down to that 1 inch line. I'll just start over here on one of these seams. Just get it. So I'm just folding it down and sticking it to the table. Just make sure these seams line up. Okay, so now the lining is ready to drop in. Now I need to grab my exterior and I'm going to put the tape around the edge of my exterior and I'll fold the edges down to meet the line there, and then I'll come back and we'll get ready to drop it in and top stitch. All right, so now I have both my lining and my exterior are ready to drop in and be top stitched. I have a fresh bobbin in, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to place my zipper, my slip zipper pocket to the back. So the welt pocket will be towards the front. That's the way I like it situated. And it fits so nice and snug. Okay, so I'm just going to center my seams on the side, get it clipped. Yeah, that fits so nicely. Okay, and then just start clipping the rest of the way around. Are they able to see what I'm doing, Jazz?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you want to zoom in?
It's okay. Just as long as we're in the frame. I tend to move out and not pay attention. Okay, so I'm just clipping it, holding it in place. And then we will get our top stitching done, say our little top stitching prayer, and hope all goes well. You know, I got a birthday coming up in a few days. Jasmine, start telling Dad about that cylinder arm I need.
Oh, no.
If you kids would stop going to college, no. Miss USC over here, USC bound.
Listen, if I go to SC, eventually I'm gonna have money to buy you that.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's what I have to wait for. Okay, so we have it all clipped up. So now we're just ready to top stitch. And I am going to be top stitching from the inside because I don't want to turn it back out again and top stitch from the outside. Since I have a flat bed, this is the best way for me to do my top stitching. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to find a spot. I'm going to leave the long tails to feed through the seam later. And just here we go. Here we go. Just take our time. This is not a sprint. Okay. So just get ready to go. Just take it nice and slow. Rotate it. It's a little tight, but you know my motto, smash it down. Smash it. Okay. So let's see. Pulled a little bit right there. Let me just make sure. I kind of shifted it out of place a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to have to stop here. And because I'd rather tie off some more tails there than to get off here. I shifted when I tried to get my bag turned a little, I shifted the fabric out of place. So what I do, if that happens, I'll just leave that. Then I'll tie those off. I'd rather do that than have a wonky stitch. So, and then I'll just go ahead and start. So first, let me pull this thread out. Okay, and then I'll just pick up where I left off. That is the best way to do it. Because you don't want to have a ugly stitch. Okay, now I can just pick right on up. Okay. So just do a few stitches at a time. I'm just going a little bit at a time. But my stitches look nice. Okay. Coming around, getting close. And just keep rotating. Those threads. Okay. I lost part of my clip over here, so now I gotta try to get it off. Sorry if I'm taking my time. I just want to make sure I don't get off track. Sometimes you have to take a moment to adjust before you move on. Okay. The flap is underneath, so I just got to make sure it stays out of the way. So I'm getting close to where I started, so I'm just gonna pull my threads back so I can get ready to tie those off. All right, back where we started. Okay, and hopefully everything is good. So I'm just pulling those threads. Okay, so I have this one. Let me just, this is where I had to stop and pick back up. So I have that. So I have tails in two places. Okay. Okay. That looks good to me. Looks really good. I'm loving that. Okay, so now I have these tails here, and I just need to, so what I do is I just kind of trim them down to the same length. Okay. A little of that extra there. Get my needle. Okay, so we're going to thread this needle. All 4 threads here. And I just go up through the middle, through that middle hole where those stitches are coming out. And I go up through the middle. right up through the middle and pull those through. Now do the same thing over here. If my threads are a little shorter than I want it, then I can go ahead and put the needle in first and then feed the needle up through and then thread the tails on. So I can do it that way. Then pull them through. Okay. So now all that's left to do is just tie this down. So I'll just put some knots there. Okay, so you just tie that off. Okay. Same thing here. Tie this off. Oops. Get that. Let me grab both threads. Whoa, this looks so good. Okay. And then I will snip. And then I will carefully just burn it just a little. And then I'm also going to add some glue down in there. Okay, so I'll get to that, but first, let's see what this is looking like. Oh, that looks good. That looks so good. Look at that. Does that look nice? That looks so good. I love that denim, and I like that brown. Oh, this is such a cool pattern. Okay, I think one of the boys or Dad would like that, don't you?
I think Dad would like it. You
think Dad would like that? Yeah. So anyway, okay. So this is the Joseph bag by Shamballa. Okay. Now there's also a strap pattern with this. Makes cool strap. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to gather what I need for the strap, and we're going to do the strap. I'm going to have a separate video for the strap, but they're going to go together. So you have to go back. You have to watch the video for the strap to see how it looks on this bag. I'm going to show you, but it's going you'll get to see the whole thing put together, and it's going to be so awesome. So I really hope that you enjoy watching me make this Joseph bag. I'm going to at least make one or two more. I know that, but it is such a good bag. You can just change out the materials and make it more feminine. But I'm loving this masculine vibe as well. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Get ready to watch the video for the strap.